us understand cropping patterns. Different crops grow in an area at a particular point of time is called a cropping pattern. Cropping pattern depends on climate, which entails temperature, rainfall, wind, etc., soil, support price, value, demand, market, labor availability, historical setting, etc. For example, rice is cultivated extensively when the monsoons are good. But when monsoons are weak, millets are grown instead of rice. Cotton in Maharashtra, tea in Assam and jute in West Bengal remain the dominant crops due to highly favorable conditions for cultivation. Objectives. In today's class, we will learn about cropping pattern, factors, physical and technical factors, economic factors, as well as on the government policies and actions. Some of the important factors are geographical factors, economic factors, political factors or government policies, historical factors, geographical factors. The various geographical factors affecting the cropping pattern of an area could be relief. Relief plays an important role in deciding the cropping pattern of a region. Rice is the main crop in the irrigated hill terraces. Crops like tea and coffee can be grown only on well-drained slopes that receive good amount of rainfall. Rice, which is a tropical crop, and sugarcane dominates well-irrigated regions with fairly warm climate. Wheat grows well in plain regions with moderate temperature and rainfall. Next important geographic factor is temperature. Most crops require lower temperature at the time of sowing and higher temperature at the time of ripening. Some crops require higher temperature and are sown in the summer season. Most of the growth period falls under the rainy season. These are known as kharif crops. For example, rice, cotton, etc. They are sown just before the burst of the southwest monsoons. There are other crops that require lower temperature and moisture and are sown in the winter season. These are known as rabi crops. Sugarcane gives good yield in the South India than in the northern plains. They need warm climates. Next factor is rainfall. Rainfall is one of the major determinants of the cropping pattern of a region. Variation in rainfall of different regions leads to different cropping patterns, which could be understood as areas of heavy rainfall. These are areas with more than 150 centimeters of annual rainfall. It includes East India and the West coastal plains. Animal population is fairly high due to availability of fodder and grazing area. Major crops include rice, tea, coffee, sugarcane, jute, etc. Areas of medium rainfall. These are the areas with 75 to 150 centimeters of annual rainfall. 150 centimeters annual rainfall isohyets are suitable for the cultivation of rice, whereas 75 centimeters annual rainfall isohyets are suitable for maize, cotton and soya bean. These areas are rich in natural resources. For example, eastern part of UP, Bihar, Odisha, eastern parts of Madhya Pradesh and Vidarbha region of Maharashtra. Wheat is the principal rabi crop in these areas and the millets are the natural priority due to its less water requirement. Wheat, maize, cotton, soya bean, millets, etc. are the major crops. Areas of low rainfall, these are the areas with 25 to 75 centimeters semi-arid stretches of India of annual rainfall. Major crops in this belt are millets, jowar, bajra in the northern, jowar in central and ragi in the southern part. Wheat is the main rabi crop which is grown in irrigated areas. Mixed cropping is very common in which pulses are mixed with cereals. Cropping has been developed in such a way that no one crop dominates. Dryland farming is common practice in this region. Millets, oil seeds which include groundnut, sunflower, rapeseed, mustard, etc., pulses, etc. are the major crops grown in this region. Soil. Soil of a region is an important determinant of the cropping pattern. Different crops require different adequate conditions for their growth and development. Rice is mainly grown in clayey soils while loamy soils are best for wheat. The Regur soil of the Deccan Plateau is ideal for the cultivation of cotton. Coarse grains such as jowar, bajra, maize, ragi, barley, etc. are grown in inferior soils. light sandy soils, light black soils, red and laterite soils, etc. Delta soils of West Bengal are renewed by floods every year and are very fertile. They are ideal for jute cultivation. The farmers grow 2 to 3 crops in a year in this region. Soils of the Darjeeling Hills contain sufficient quantities of humus, iron, potash and phosphorus which are necessary for tea bush to grow. Economic factors. Economic motivation is the most important in determining the cropping pattern of the country. Among the various economic factors affecting the cropping patterns, the irrigation, power, size of land holdings, sale price of the crops, the income of farmers, insurance and investment are important ones deciding the cropping pattern of an area. Some of them are irrigation. Rice is an important dominant crop in regions with reliable irrigation and a warm climate. North Indian plain regions are well irrigated and support 2 to 3 crops of rice a year. Crop diversification in certain regions has been negligible due to the presence of irrigation. For example, rice dominates in well irrigated parts of South India. Wheat dominates the northwestern part of the country. Coarse grains like jowar, bajra, maize, barley, ragi, etc. are given comparatively less importance in these regions. Next, the size of the land holdings. In case of small holdings, the priority of the farmers would be to grow food grains for his family members, subsistence farming. Farmers with large holdings can opt for cash and help in crop diversification, leading to changes in the cropping patterns, commercial farming. But in spite of crop diversification potential, large holdings are used mostly for monoculture of rice, wheat, etc. Insurance against risk. The need to minimize the risk of crop failures not only explains diversification but also some specific features of crop patterns. For example, in southern states, plantation crops are grown on a large scale due to the availability of suitable crop insurance schemes. Availability of inputs, seeds, fertilizers, water storage, marketing, transport, etc. also affect the cropping pattern of a region. Value. Millets in the hilly areas of Himachal Pradesh and Uttarakhand are replaced by high value horticulture crops like apple. Demand. Rice is the preferred crop in the densely populated regions as there is a ready market and high demand. Let's look at the political factors or government policies. The legislative and administrative policies of the government may also affect the cropping pattern. Food Crops Acts, Land Use Acts, intensive schemes for paddy, for cotton and oil seeds, subsidies affect the cropping pattern. Government can encourage or discourage certain crops due to various reasons like drought, flood, inflation, etc. Minimum support price. Rice and wheat which are offered high MSP are preferred by farmers over other food crops. Let's look at the historical factors. Cropping pattern of a region is also defined by historical factors which include the cultivation of various crops done in the area from long time due to various historical reasons. For example, tea plantation by British Kangra Valley in Uttarakhand. Sugarcane is grown more extensively in North India even though the conditions are most favorable in South India. This is because the sugarcane cultivation was encouraged by British as an alternative to indigo which lost its significance in market in states like Uttar Pradesh due to introduction of artificial dyes. Diversification of the crops due to surplus food grain production post Green Revolution has led to significant changes in the cropping pattern. Other than rice and wheat, oilseeds and pulses also become more prominent. Now let's move on to next topic for today, which is major food crops of India. A variety of food and non-food crops are grown in different parts of the country depending upon the variations in soil, climate and cultivation practices. Main crops grown in India are rice, wheat, millets, pulses, tea, coffee, sugarcane, oilseeds, cotton and jute, etc. Today, we will discuss rice as a major food crop of India. Rice is the staple food crop of a majority of people in India. Our country is the second largest producer of rice in the world after China. It is a kharif crop which requires high temperature, that is about 25 degrees Celsius, and high humidity with annual rainfall above 100 centimeters. In the areas of less rainfall, it grows with the help of irrigation. It is a preferred staple food in southern and northeastern India. Rice is making quick inroads into northwestern plain. Rice growing areas are well suited for mixed farming, crops plus livestock. Unpolished rice has high nutrition value. It is rich in vitamin A, B and calcium. Polished rice lacks these vitamins. Oryza sativa, it is believed, is associated with wet humid climate, though it is not tropical plant. Oryza sativa is the scientific name of rice. It is probably a descendant of the wild grass that was most likely cultivated in the foothills of the far eastern Himalayas. Another school of thought believes that the rice plant may have originated in southern India, then spread to the north of the country and then towards China. It then arrived in Korea, the Philippines about 2000 BC and then Japan and Indonesia about 1000 BC. The journey of rice around the world has been slow, but once it took root, it stayed and became a major agriculture and economic product for the people. In the Indian subcontinent, more than a quarter of the cultivated land is given to rice. It is a very essential part of the daily meal in southern and eastern parts of India. In the northern and central parts of the subcontinent, where wheat is frequently eaten, rice holds its own and is cooked daily as well as on festivals and special occasions. Now let's look at the crop season of rice. Rice is a kharif crop. Wet and warm climate is ideal for rice cultivation. It is grown only in well irrigated areas in the Rabi season. Most of the rice growing regions lie barren during summer, that is from April to May. It can be grown as a summer crop in deltaic regions where water and irrigation is available through the year. For example, deltaic regions of West Bengal, Krishna, Godavari, Delta, etc. Rice has 3 cropping seasons. Rice is grown as kharif, rabi and summer crop. For example, deltaic regions of West Bengal, Krishna, Godavari, Delta. Rice crop needs plenty of heat, rain and labor. It can be grown between 0 to 2500 meters above the sea level. Rice cannot tolerate cold climate that exists above the 2500 meters. Rice is a tropical and kharif crop. It requires warm climate. Rice is grown almost throughout the year, 2 to 3 crops in hot and humid regions of eastern and southern parts of India. In northern and hilly parts of the country, the winters are too cold for the rice cultivation and only one crop is grown in those areas. Rice requires semi-aquatic conditions, rainfall or irrigation throughout the season. The soil should never be dry during the growing season. The fields during the rice cultivation must be flooded under 10 to 12 centimeter deep water and at the time of sowing. The requirement of rice makes it primarily a crop of plain areas. Rice grown in well-watered lowland plain areas is called wet or lowland rice. Rice can be grown in areas just below the sea level like in Kuttanad region of Kerala. Terraced cultivation of rice is followed in sloped regions, for example hills of northeastern states. Shifting cultivation or jhumming the practice. The supply of water in the hill terraces is low and the rice grown in hilly areas is called dry or upland rice. Average annual rainfall of rice growing areas is about 150 centimeters. It is good for the crop. The 100 centimeters ISO height imaginary line, ISO height is an imaginary line which is joining points of equal rainfall. So the ISO height of 100 centimeters from the limit of rice growing areas in the rain-fed regions. Rice is grown in Punjab, Haryana, Western UP in rainfall less than 100 centimeters with the help of intensive irrigation. Now let's look at the soil conditions required for rice growth. Rice is a dominant crop of river valleys, floodplains, deltas and coastal plains. Loamy soils require frequent irrigation and more water as the water holding capacity is low. For example, delta regions, Punjab, Haryana, North Indian plains. Clayey soils, on the other hand, have good water holding capacity. For example, coastal plains of South India, irrigated regions of Karnataka, Telangana, etc. Rice can tolerate acidic as well as alkaline solutions. Now let's look at the labor requirements. Rice cultivation is traditionally a labor intensive crop. Rice is primarily grown in areas of high population density where labor and ready market is available. In Punjab and Haryana, rice cultivation mainly depends upon the migrant laborers from Bihar and eastern UP. Now let's look at the methods of rice cultivation. Broadcasting method. In this method, the seeds are sown by hand. This method is practiced in areas of dry or less fertile soils and areas with labor shortages. This is the easiest method requiring minimum input. The yields in this method are minimum. Next we have the drilling method. In this method, one person plows the land and the other person sows the seeds. This method is confined to dry regions of peninsular India. The yields in the method are low. Transplantation method. It is the advanced method of rice cultivation in India. It has less scope for mechanization and is labor intensive. It is practiced in areas of fertile soil with abundant rainfall or irrigation. In this method, seeds are grown in nursery and seedlings are prepared. After a month, the seedlings are uprooted and transplanted to a different field. This is a difficult method that requires heavy inputs, but it gives some of the highest yields. Next, we have the Japanese method. This is the highly mechanized and most advanced rice cultivation. It is mostly followed in developed countries like Japan, South Korea, etc. In this method, seedlings are transplanted in rows with help of machines. Weeding and fertilizing are fully mechanized. Heavy dose of fertilizers are required in this method. Very high yields are obtained by this method of cultivation of rice. Next, we have production and productivity. India is the second largest producer and consumer of rice in the world after China. Low productivity. The average yield of rice in India is 2.3 tons or hectares against the global average of 4.374 tons. China, Australia, US lead in productivity figures of the rice. The state-wise information about the rice production is given in this particular table. Please go through it. The other major producers are Bihar, Chhattisgarh, Assam, Tamil Nadu, Telangana, Haryana, Karnataka, Jharkhand, etc. Trade. Domestic rice production meets the domestic demand. There is very little surplus for external trade. But now India occupies second position in rice exports, next only to Thailand. India is the biggest exporter of basmati rice. Punjab, Haryana and Western UP produce best qualities of basmati rice. Punjab, Haryana, Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh and Uttar Pradesh are surplus states. They supply to deficit states like West Bengal, Maharashtra, Gujarat, Kerala and Delhi. Well, this was about rice. Now let's move on to the next important food crop, which is wheat. Wheat is being cultivated in India for more than 5,000 years and the original species Triticum cephalococcum was grown in Indus Valley civilization. This species has now disappeared and has been replaced by present day species Triticum aevestum or the common bread wheat, Triticum durum or the macaroni wheat and the Triticum dicoccum or the summer wheat. Wheat is the second most important staple food for Indian population. It is a rich source of calcium, thiamine, riboflavin and iron. Preferred staple food in northern and northwestern parts of the country. The top 5 countries that exported the highest dollar value worth of wheat include Russia, United States, Canada, France, Ukraine. Egypt is the world's biggest importer of rice. Turkey is also a big spender on Russian and Ukrainian wheat with 74% of imports coming from those two countries in 2019. India is the second largest producer of wheat with a share of around 13.5% of the world total production. India produces around 107.59 million metric tons of wheat annually, while a major chunk of it goes towards domestic consumption. India accounts for even less than 1% in the world wheat export. However, its share has increased from 0.14% in 2016 to 0.54% in 2020. Climatic conditions for cultivation of wheat. Wheat is a temperate crop which requires a cool climate with moderate rainfall. It shows great adaptability. It can be grown in tropics as well. Yields are low in the tropics. It is rabi crop or a winter crop which requires cool and less moist climate. Wheat requires 75 centimeters of temporally timed, well distributed rainfall for its cultivation. 100 centimeter rainfall is the highest limit. The ISO heights of 100 centimeters separate wheat growing areas from the rice growing areas. In the Kharif season, rice replaces wheat in the winter wheat belt region, that is Punjab, Haryana, etc. Light drizzles and cloudiness, which are brought by the western disturbances at the time of ripening, help in increasing the yield. During flowering period, a frost or hailstorm is very harmful for the wheat. Now let's look at the soil requirements for wheat. Well drained, fertile, friable barns, mostly alluvial, and clayey loams with a good proportion of sand are the best for wheat cultivation. It also grows well in the black soil of the Deccan Plateau. Thus, wheat cultivation is more flexible than rice cultivation as the limiting factors are low. Cultivation of wheat depends on mechanization as compared to rice. However, wheat requires less labor work. Now let's look at the production of wheat. India is the second largest producer of wheat in the world, next only to China. Wheat is grown on 13% of the cropped area of India. India has done better in wheat by achieving the yield closer to the global average. It has recorded an average yield of 2.9 ton per hectare as against the global benchmark for 3 ton per hectare. However, it's still far from countries like France, US and China. Production of wheat can be increased by following certain measures. Let's look at them. Firstly, area specific technology has to be used. For example, micro irrigation and dry areas of Deccan region. Improving supply of better seeds, better supply of fertilizers, control of the weeds, pests and diseases. Extending wheat cultivation to non-traditional areas like Assam Valley and in Odisha, West Bengal has already Punjab, Haryana and western parts of UP have earned the distinction of being called the granary of India. Other important wheat producing states are Bihar, Gujarat, West Bengal, Maharashtra, Uttarakhand and Himachal Pradesh. Wheat crop is India's most staple harvest, placed second only to rice. It is mostly consumed in the northern and northwestern parts of the country. Being rich in protein, vitamin and carbohydrates, it provides a balanced food to millions of people each day. Rice is the staple crop of India and every day millions of Indians find comfort in it. With a high carbohydrate content, it is known to provide instant energy and is a staple that is consumed by majority of India's population. Hence the importance